What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Jordan, and today I'm gonna do a deck profile on a deck that I took into my OTS locals today. I got first place with it after play testing and taking it to the tournament the first time ever building it. This is Voiceless Voice. Um, Not a lot of people is familiar with Voiceless Voice, even though it just came out. It's all about the fire format now these days, but Voice's Voice is really good. It's solid. It's tricky to get around. You got to actually hit the deck right. It's super grindy with recursion. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I'm missing a couple cards out of the deck that I would like to pick up in the future, but this is post Phantom Nightmares. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the list, starting with the main deck. We're going to start with the hand traps first. This is 41 cards in the main. So for the hand traps, I'm running 2 Ash, 2 Ghost Spell, 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Nibiru, and 3 Imperm. I did run 3 Ash and 3 Veiler, but I decided to take one of each out and main Ghost Spell. Ghost Spell did put in work today against my matchups. My matchups were against Brandon Despia, which this dominated, and Nibiru dominated. You had what was the Umi Control? Umi Control did work. Then you had Snake Eye Infernobles, and then my matchup against Labyrinth. These performed solid, but yeah. Now we'll start off with the main deck since we're done with the hand traps. Going for the starters, 3 copies of Low and 3 copies of Saphira. For those who don't know, these are your main starters of the deck, especially her. What she does is when she's normal or special summon, you get to place a Voiceless Voice spell or trap from your deck face up on the field. It could be Barrier, it could be Radiance, and she can consider herself as the entire tribute if you use her for a light ritual summon. And if she's in the graveyard and she sees that a ritual monster is summoned, regardless if it's ritual summoned, if it's special summoned, she'll come back from the grave. So she's pretty solid. Saphira, on the other hand, is your discard fodder. You discard her and a ritual spell from your graveyard to add a light ritual monster from your deck to your hand. You could also banish her and ritual summon that way too if you want to. If you don't have prayers, this is another way to ritual summon. But these are your main starters of the deck. Continuing on, we run 1 copy of Saphira. I run 1, some people run 2. He's good. He gets to shuffle back 2 spells in your graveyard, including a ritual spell to special summon himself. And if your opponent would activate the effect, you could quick effect, bounce this to your hand, and special 1 light ritual monster from your hand or deck, and shuffle it back in during the end phase. So sometimes if I know my opponent's about to do something, I would shuffle this back into the hand, get like Saphira or Skull Guardian, and kind of deal with whatever situation it is. Pretty solid here. 2 Skull Guardians and 2 Saphira. When the new support comes out for Legacy of Destruction, I might put this to 1 and run the new Saphira. But as of right now, Saphira is busted. It's really, really busted. The fact that 1 is not once per turn, and you can negate summons and negate target effects that target anything you control is busted. If my opponent would special summon, you return this to the hand and negate and banish. And if my opponent would target, you discard to negate and destroy. Skull Guardian, on the other hand, is your Omni negate if you control Low. And when he's on the field, if Low is on the board or in the graveyard, he gets an additional 2050, so he becomes a 4100 beater. So he's one of the boss monsters of the deck. So pretty busted. This is your standard lineup for your Voiceless voice monsters. Going for the Diviner package, I'm missing one, but I still managed to get first place without it. 2 Diviner, 1 Trius. Trius didn't really come up a lot because a lot of times they see Diviner, they would Ash or Effect Veiler or Imperm, and I wouldn't have Cerebus in hand. But what this will do, for those who don't know, is I would usually send Trius to the graveyard for using Divine Effect, but if this is already in hand, I would send like Herald of Arclight or Entis, depending on the situation. And if it's tributed, you get to specially level 2 or lower fairy monster from your deck, so again, you would get low. Trius is different. Trius depends on the number of fairies you control that you contribute. If you tribute 2, you get to pop something your opponent controls, and if you tribute 3, draw 2 cards. But again, this never came up because usually half the time Diviner would get interrupted. Your spell cards. The rest of your Voiceless voice engine. 3 barrier, 2 radiance, and 3 barrier, 2 prayers, 1 radiance. Barrier protects your stuff. If you have low Analyte Ritual Monster, all your monsters are not targetable and they cannot be destroyed or declared attacks unless you beat over the Ritual Monster first. So I had people like complain about like SP Little Knight, for example. SP Little Knight quick effect would target 2 cards on the board and banish both. Unless they banish this, it protects the monsters because my monsters can't be targeted by my opponent's card effects, and they cannot be attacked unless you attack the ritual monster first. So this was the MVP of the deck. Prayers is another ritual summon, and if a light ritual monster I control will leave the battlefield by opponent's card effect, special 1 from deck and banish this. So it's pretty solid. Radiance, however, sometimes I want to run it to 2. This is your way of recurring your ritual monsters that's in your graveyard by shuffling a ritual monster or a ritual spell from your graveyard to special or add to hand a light ritual monster. And then a second effect, target cards your opponent controls equal to the number of ritual monsters you have, and pop this too. So there'll be some times in the grind game where I would like to see a second one, but half the time I'm already so ahead anyways, the first one's good and I'm just shuffling back in. But of course, it depends on where you're at in the matchup that you might want to get a second one. But I wouldn't recommend getting a second one, but it does come up sometimes that I wish I had to. We have 3 pre-preparations of rights. I'm not really going to say anything more. Adds a ritual spell and ritual monster. 3 Pot of Prosperities. This deck doesn't really need to use the extra deck, so pot works. But depending on the matchup, I would always cite this out so I can start using my extra deck a little bit more. Just depends. And then you have 2 talents and 1 call by. Talents comes up sometimes. There's a dilemma where talents, you could just rip someone a card out of your opponent's hand. But for me, like if you interrupt something of mine that I actually needed, I want to see the next 2 cards. And then, of course, call by is call by. So that's it for the main deck. As I said, main deck is 41 cards. We'll go with the extra deck. Extra deck, your links, starting with your link 1s, you have Link Rebo, Relinquish Anima, then you have 2 copies of Dynamondo, IP Masquerena, Earth Charmer, Light Charmer, and Underworld Goddess. During the matchups today, only 1 copy of Dynamondo came up. Underworld actually came up a lot. Underworld Goddess I would make like once. Link Rebo and Relinquish Anima I would make once. Everything else would be like Pot of Prosperity targets. But Dynamondo came in clutch. The fact that you could just shuffle a card on the field and a ritual monster in your grave and then tribute it to add or special a ritual monster in your grave is busted. That's it for links. Your synchros, 1 Herald and 1 Chaos Angel. I've made Chaos Angel once. I can make it off of Trius and low. And then it's also untargeted by my opponent's card effects. Especially it's also protected if I have Skull Guardian and low out. Disgusting. Herald, I didn't really see. As I said, this will be a diviner target to send to the grave. but my entire tournament diviner just kept getting interrupted, so I was like, fuck it. But yeah. One Typhon as the XZ. I went against a Snake Eyes Inferno matchup, and he ended the board with 2 Great Charles the Greats, Link Monsters, and Baron. So I would super poly his 2 Charles the Greats, and then I would make Garura and then slap Typhon down, and shuts down Baron completely, bounce Baron back to the hand, and then just go full combo from there. I've already got rid of his 3 negations and full combo, and I kind of just OTK with 82,000, and I was like, cool. But this comes up sometimes, just depends on the matchup, and depends on how many times your opponent would summon from the extra deck. Entis target for your Diviner, and then your Super Poly targets 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Earth Golem, and 1 Garura. Garura I made a lot, Mud Dragon a couple of times, but I never made Earth Golem. So the story for Earth Golem is I would use it for like Amber Whale and another Cyberus monster. If my opponent would do that, I would just like, cool, get rid of and make this, and they can't really do anything. So that's the extra deck. We'll go to the side deck. Side deck really is, I kind of expected to go against like a Voiceless voice matchup or if any Snake Eyes Fire Kings. I didn't go against any of them. So the side deck is still worked out in my favor, but we run 3 copies of Droll. Droll is for the rogue decks, and for combo heavy decks that likes to add cards to their hand, like Gold Pride Punk. I hate to say it because I play it. Branded Despia, any deck that adds a lot to their hand, this kind of hurts them, and they can't really play around it. But you know. Bestials, 1 Magnemite, 1 Druisworm, and 1 Baldric. The reason for this is the sides I would side in if I go against a Voiceless voice matchup or a Branded Despia matchup or Labyrinth or anything that has like a dark or light. I would side these in, especially Magnemite. If you activate Magnemite, you on end phase you can actually you can search for Saphira, since Saphira is a dragon, and then use go combo on your follow-up turn. So pretty disgusting that you can just search her, and you know, Bestials are good. Continuing down, 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. I did 2 and then Harpies, but I think Cosmic is a little stronger. It gets rid of those cards that can't be destroyed by card effects. You just banish it. So 3 Cosmics. Of course, you have your 3 copies of your Super Polys, and then your 3 summon limits. Summon limit I've only made once, and it was a mistake, but I still played around it, and they did too. But just depends. Other than that, I would side it in going first. But I've never seen it. But it's there to kind of just slow down my opponent's plays, while I just have I can summon at least 3 to 4 times, or at least twice. Most of it's just twice. Try to get low and Skull Guardian out. But this is the side. But yeah. First place with the deck. I'm actually really surprised that I got first place. I've built it 2 weeks after the set released. The most expensive things was my lows. They're like $60, $70 a piece. But after that, everything else kind of just fell in. But I didn't expect to get first place. I'm glad I did. I haven't played this in a tournament until today. I've just been play testing. A couple of buddies of mine, I would test it on them and see how it works. I find it funny that some people don't understand how to play around it or play against it, because it's like, it's really tricky to get around. But I've had a lot of success with it today. And I will plan on playing this in the upcoming YCS in Raleigh. So if you see me, say hi, whatever. I'll be there. I'll probably do some side events. I might just do the qualifiers to go regionals. But I will be taking this and a couple other decks that I'm working on. Currently working on Goblin Biker's Adventure. But yeah, I like playing this deck. This deck is really, really fun. But oh, that's gas. But anyways, I thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns on my choices, comment down below. And I'll try to get back to you guys. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay blessed. Peace.